One of the things that was supposed to be a strength for the 2025 Packers has been a weakness. And one of its biggest weaknesses has become its strength. One of those things is going to change.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Coming into the season, what did everyone say? What did everyone say was the biggest flaw of this roster? Corner. And while I agreed with that, I believe I told you over months that it was going to be fine. That Jeff Hafley was going to make them right, that the pass rush was going to improve, and that was before Micah Parsons. What Micah Parsons has done as a force multiplier on this team is nothing short of spectacular. And they now have 4 players with a dozen pressures already through 3 weeks. They're the only team who can say that. Lucas Van Ness has been awesome. He has taken the jump that you were hoping for. And whether or not that would have been true without Micah Parsons, we don't know. We can't know. But when you look at all the like the charts where it's like, okay, separation score and, ball in the air grades and those kinds of things, the Packers corners like Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, they're up in the upper right-hand corners where you want those corners to be. Javon Bullard has been by far better than he was last year, by far. And so you're going, okay, well, is this sustainable? Well, it is if the pass rush can keep this up. And it is even if the pass rush doesn't keep it up, because we saw last year they did it without the pass rush being as nearly as good as it is this year. Cowboy Cooper has taken a step forward. They added Nate Hobbs, who's still kind of just working his way back into this defense. I see no reason to expect this corner group to play much worse. Or excuse me, much worse. I said it right. Believe in yourself. Because this pass rush is going to get home. They're going to sit on all of the underneath stuff. And they're going to dare teams to throw down the field. The Packers, after the first week, they didn't play almost any man coverage against the Lions. And they're now, after 3 weeks, playing about 20% man coverage. Because they've realized they can do it. They've realized they can press you at the line of scrimmage. No one's worried about getting run by because no one has time to throw the ball down the field. They're doing to other teams what the Browns did to the Packers on Sunday. We're going to press you at the line of scrimmage, and we're going to believe that our front is going to get home, whether we blitz or not. I don't see any reason. Even if you have, Rashawn Gary misses some time, or Micah Parsons misses some time, or Lucas Van Ness misses some time, they've got enough horses right now to make this all worth. Maybe they have to switch a little bit here, a little bit there. The question is about this offensive line. And the offensive line has been a problem. 41% pressure rate for Jordan Love this year, the highest of his career as a starter. I don't believe for a second that this team, that this group of players suddenly forgot how to block. This was a team last year. The Packers offensive line with Rasheed Walker at left tackle and Zach Tom at right tackle and Sean Ryan at right guard and Elton Jenkins there. You add Josh Myers into that mix. He was their worst player and they replaced him. Has Aaron Banks been good this year? No. Has he been any worse than Josh Myers was last year? Also, no. And so when you look at that, you go, okay, they should be better. They should be, but they're not. Well, the group last year that was less talented was 7th in ESPN's pass block win rate. So how often are you winning your matchups in 2.5 seconds? That's their standard. And last year's offensive line was 3rd in Pro Football Focus's pass block grade. Now, again, your mileage may vary on the PFF grades. I get it. But ESPN's charting is based on basically AI, more or less. It's based on a model that decides, did you win in 2.5 seconds or did you not? And if you did, you get a win. 2.5 seconds should be plenty of time. Jordan Love's time to pressure on Sunday was 1.99, a half second sooner than any offensive lineman would get to earn a win. That's pretty tough. And in fact, over the course of 3 weeks, among quarterbacks that attempted any number of passes, no quarterback had a time to throw below 2 in the NFL over any attempt cohort. If you attempted 1 pass this year, you had a time to throw over 2. So what happened on Sunday is outlier, untenable nonsense. It's just not going to happen again. Now, the problem is they haven't been healthy. When this team was healthy in week 1, and then even when they had to do some shuffling along the offensive line in the second half of that game, Jordan Love was clean, no sacks. And the Lions sent a lot of pressure, a lot of blitzes. Now they did create some pressures, but the Packers were able to handle it. They sent a lot of blitzes. The Packers were able to pick those things up, the stunts, the twists. The Packers did a decent job of picking those things up. On Sunday, they did none of those things. They did a bad job picking up stunts. They had poor technique one-on-one. One of Elton Jenkins' worst games, healthy games as a pro. Well, okay. But Rasheed Walker left the game temporarily. Anthony Belton had to go play left tackle, had been playing right tackle. But when Zach Tom went out, a play into the game, it's Jordan Morgan. Well, how many reps at tackle did Jordan Morgan have over the course of the week? Probably not many. But Anthony Belton probably did. He goes in there and it looked better. Jordan Morgan moves to left guard because Aaron Banks gets hurt. So now you've got 2 backups playing out of position, really, in the case of Jordan Morgan. And then Rasheed Walker gets hurt. And they move Belton to the left side, and Darian Kinnard comes in at right tackle. They played 4 different offensive lines against the Browns. Against the Browns, one of the best fronts in the NFL. That's just not going to work against anybody. It's just not going to work. And that doesn't even include the pre-snap penalties and all that stuff. But Matt LaFleur, respect to him, admitted we might have overloaded Jordan Morgan. We might be asking too much of him. And if this team can stay healthy for any length of time, or even forget stay healthy, how about just play one group? Because Anthony Melton is good enough to deal with whatever he's got to deal with over the course of the game. But no offensive line is good enough to have Jordan Morgan play 3 different positions in a game. Very few offensive linemen in the NFL. I know that everyone wants to freak out. Oh, he was a first-round pick. Very few offensive linemen in the NFL could go, all right, I practiced all week to play right guard. Oh, second play of the game, I got to play right tackle. Oh, 2 minutes later, I got to play left guard. It's so much harder. Just because in Madden you can change someone's position and it's fine, that's not how this works. It's not how this works. Josh Sitton compared it to wiping your ass with a different hand. Mitchell Schwartz just compared it to trying to switch sides of the plate in baseball. If you're a right-handed hitter and you try and hit left-handed, most of the time you look stupid. How many switch hitters are there in Major League Baseball? And that's the best of the best. Not very many. So Could you just, even if Jordan Morgan is playing left guard, or even if Anthony Belton has to play right tackle because Zach Tom is going to get an extended break, or even if Jordan Morgan is going to play right tackle, you need those reps. You need the continuity. You need to be able to communicate. We talked with Jeff Jagosinski on our show and then on the squad show about, okay, how do you pass those things off? How do you communicate them? And a lot of it is sort of, you just got to know, you've got to understand, you've got to feel. And yes, you're communicating, but you also, there is just some institutional knowledge, some built-in experience with the guy next to you. You can't create that continuity if you don't play next to that guy. The Packers got extremely lucky last year with that continuity. I have faith in the talent of this offensive line because when they were healthy in week 1, they shut down a pass rush that just sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times. Shut them down. That strength is going to show up at some point. And when it does, this offense is going to hit the strides we thought they could find at some point this season. And believe me, they will once again look like a Super Bowl contender, maybe the Super Bowl favorite. It starts this week against the Dallas Cowboys. Lily Zhao joins us next on Locked On Packers. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like players, Mazda sweats every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Joining me now from Fox 6 in Milwaukee after a pretty dispiriting loss to the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. A lot, and I mean a lot, to dig into here with Lily Zhao. But let's start where we always start and answer the question. Lily, how you doing?
Peter, doing well personally. A tough week for everybody else, I think, if you're a Packer fan, but I am doing well. The weather's turning. It's officially fall, so I'm in that mood. I don't know about you guys, you and your family, but I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. I love fall. Fall is my favorite season. Football, the weather, it's just the best. I love this time of year. The smell in the air in the morning, in the evening.
Weather. Yeah.
It's sweater weather. Like we're in it. And I'm happy to be a part of it. You have to be happy for something. Maybe I'm disclosing a little too much about myself. I'll be honest. A loss has not stuck with me through multiple days after a Sunday in a long time. And I'm including like playoff losses. For whatever reason, this loss has just bugged me. And I it's not even an emotional Packers thing. I'm just sort of like, I don't even understand what happened on Sunday.
It's like everything bad that could happen to a team happened in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. It just seems like, what if someone had a magic horseshoe as a Browns fan? I mean, that thing really worked because literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. If Josh Jacobs had fumbled and that was ruled a fumble, who knows what would have happened? But it just seemed like, I don't know. It was just,
would that have made this better or worse, you think?
I don't know, because then it's a longer field to drive down. Who knows?
We probably go to overtime.
Right. At least you get a shot there.
And that gives you something. Yeah. There's a million things we could talk about. I think the offensive line play is really where we have to start. And it's hard to remember, Lily, a game where we come out of it in a negative way like this, talking about the offensive line. They've just been solid for so long that even against a very good defensive front, like the Lions sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times on Monday, and they didn't come close to Jordan Love in week 1. Like, we're just not used to seeing this. Do you lean more toward, I'm worried about this moving forward, or do you lean more toward the guys need to get healthy, it's going to be fine sort of perspective here?
I'm going to say the latter. It's week 3. I don't think anyone's going to hit the panic button. I feel like, the Lions fans.
Well, I've seen panic buttons, Lily. I have seen it on the social medias, and maybe that's my problem by being on social media, because I have seen plenty people are mashing that panic button on the socials.
Right. And listen, it's a week by week league. We all know it. The Lions week 1, they're talking the world is ending. Now look at them. They beat the Ravens on the road.
Yeah.
The Bears did really good against the Cowboys. They got trounced by the Lions the week before. I mean, it's such a week to week league, but it's week 3. I don't think we have to panic just yet. But to your point, I think it was just super disappointing to see how poorly the offensive line played. And I think it just was the offense in general. I mean, they looked very disjointed. The operation didn't look clean. I don't know if they just weren't getting the calls in. I don't know if it was just the environment, but they just looked very disjointed, very sluggish and disjointed. And it didn't really feel like they were playing with a lot of energy. And so I don't really know,
They did not bring the juice, Lily. Jeff Hafley said they're going to have to bring their own juice. They did not bring it on Sunday.
They brought no juice. It just looked just very unpacker-like. And when you're taking 3 timeouts to avoid a delay of game penalty,
oh my God,
that was, and then, taking a snap right before the third quarter ended when you didn't need to. These mental mistakes are not something we see from this team.
So I was comfortable with the approach over the last few years from Brian Gutekunst as they're building here with the youngest team in the league. But it is starting to remind me of what happened with Ted Thompson. Even though I think Brian Gutekunst is a very different GM, that team was constantly the youngest team in the league as well because he didn't sign any players. It was always draft and develop. And Mike McCarthy wanted more veteran players. And they needed veteran players to run that defense with Dom Capers. And they didn't have them. And there were all these mistakes. And I'm just sort of like, guys, at a certain point, do you need to figure something else out here? Because it is hard for me to separate this team and the sloppiness we've seen at times from the age.
Yes. And to your point, it feels like when something doesn't go right and it's that tight of a game, I don't know if it gets in their heads, but it's just like they can't overcome it. And there's penalties and it sets them back and they can't overcome it. And to use the Eagles as an example, they won the Super Bowl last year. They're a veteran team. You saw how much they were down by the Rams, didn't give up, won the game. Yeah. And so I think you need to have that experience and have sometimes just the experience to go through it to say we can get through it. But for whatever reason, it just was a domino effect in the fourth quarter of you let a team hang in there, and they're eventually going to beat you. But it felt like, that interception after that happened, it just didn't seem like they had any sort of, juice to get over that and say, oh, that wasn't the end of the world. We still have the lead. We can go put this game away. They didn't do that.
Well, but they also then just drove right down the field and had the game-winning kick, and then they botched it in the field goal moment. I think we've talked about this, Lily. I remember the conversations about how this is a never give up team, and they have fought back in games where something goes wrong and they come back. We saw it last year against the Lions. They took the lead in the fourth quarter in Detroit. They kicked the game-tying field goal late in the fourth quarter. What I'm wondering is more about just the consistency of it. And I think in some ways, this is really the first game I can think of in the Jordan Love era where they went in heavy favorites. And it was 9.5 at one point. I don't think Jordan Love has been a touchdown plus favorite in a game in his career. And I'm not blaming Jordan Love specifically. I'm just saying this team, you have to learn how to play from ahead too. You have to learn how to be the favorite. And what you hope, right, is that this is a learning experience for them. They came in, they didn't play to their standard. Matt LaFleur loves to talk about that. And they got beat up, especially in the trenches. You hope, right, that it's a reminder every week you can lose.
Oh, absolutely. And again, if you don't finish the game, that's what happens. We've seen it time and time again in the fourth quarter. You let a team hang around. You don't play your best. You play passive. And the other team says, listen, I have a chance. I'm going to go win this thing. And the other team does. And I think to your point, though, it is a lesson for this team in knowing, okay, we got to finish the game. And you have to learn. And I will say this, if you want to be a Super Bowl contender, you want to be a team who's in the conversation every year, you're going to have those games where you're heavily favored, but then you got to prove why you're heavily favored.
Right.
And the Packers didn't do that. And you can talk about any other really good team in the NFC or across the NFL. Those teams who are heavily favored get the job done and they win by wide margins. But for whatever reason, it just seemed like everybody was just discombobulated in Cleveland on the Packers side.
Well, and look, you're going to have bad games, right? And so what you have to be able to do is, okay, we don't have our A stuff today. We see this in baseball all the time. Brewers, prime example. Like, okay, I don't have the 99 today. I'm going to have to make do with 96, 97. I'm just going to have to spot it better, or I'm just going to have to, scheme my way out of it in football. But in pitching, it's okay. I need to make sure I have exactly the right scouting reports here, or maybe I need to talk to my catcher. Like, there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? So I feel like they needed that moment. They needed Matthew Golden to stay in bounds, for example. Like, if Matthew Golden stays in bounds, I think he probably should have stayed in bounds, and that's a 94-yard touchdown. It's 17-0. The Packers might win that game 31-10, but that's not what happened. They needed that one play, and that's where you want Jordan Love to step forward. The problem was he didn't have any time. Like, what is he supposed to do? The offensive line was a disaster. I thought it was interesting yesterday. 2 days ago, Matt LaFleur admitted, hey, maybe we're putting too much on Jordan Morgan's plate. Maybe we're doing a little too much with him. Do they need to find homes for these guys? Okay, Anthony Belton, you're the backup tackle. Jordan Morgan, you're the backup guard. That sort of thing.
I think at this point you have to. Considering the injuries, it's going to be hard to continue to shuffle these guys and expect them. And listen, the versatility is great. Guys can play everywhere along the line. We all know that. That's why they come to the Packers. But in this point in time, I think you have to have an established role of, okay, you're better on the left side. You're better inside at the guard position. That's where we're going to have you back up. And once you're kind of entrenched in that and you're not constantly going from left guard to right tackle and back and forth, you might just feel more comfortable at that position. So I think that was, nice of him to kind of admit maybe we did do too much with Jordan. And he's still a young player,
Nine starts, 9 games, 2 starts.
Yeah. And if you're lining up as on right tackle, you're facing Myles Garrett. I mean, any player would get a little jittery, right? And so maybe it is time now to say, okay, we're going to have him at left guard. That's his backup position. Anthony Belton, you're at right tackle. Let's just make this work. Because I think the shuffling, the continuing to shuffle is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for these young guys.
All right, we dig in. Cowboys, Packers, more with Lily Zhao next on Locked On Packers. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because it fits however I want to bet, whether it's player props, same-game parlays, jumping in live as the action unfolds, cashed on the Lions plus 5.5 on Monday night. Thank you, Detroit. If you're going to win, I appreciate you paying me out as well. Thank you very much. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We've seen them shuffle. We've seen them rotate. We've seen them do those things. But like it was with Yosh Nijman and Rasheed Walker when they're both just playing left tackle. They didn't have Rasheed Walker moonlighting as a right tackle. They didn't have Yosh Nijman playing a little bit of right guard and maybe a little bit of left guard. It's almost like Morgan is a victim of his own competency in a lot of ways, because it's like, well, we think you can do all these things. A lot like Javon Bullard last year. Remember, like they had him play safety, then he was the nickel and he didn't play great. This year, when he just gets to focus on being the nickel, he's been really good this year. And you hope that, he's okay after the scary hit on Sunday in Cleveland. Let's spin this forward. Let's try to have more fun over the next couple minutes here, Lily, because this Dallas Cowboys team is a mess right now, especially on defense. They are just getting lit up by everybody they play now. And it does feel like a get right game. I hesitate to even use that phrase because I got made fun of in 2019. I would, and you and I would be talking on the show. This is the spot. This is the time the offense would get right. And they never did it. That being said, this feels like a get right game.
I honestly, I think it needs to be, right? I think it needs to be. I think when you looked at the first 3 weeks of the season before the year started, if the Packers came out 2-1, granted the loss probably wouldn't be to the Browns, people would be happy.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't think you want the loss now with how the Cowboys have looked. I mean, if the Bears are looking like Super Bowl contenders playing the Cowboys, you got to match that or be better. Yeah. This is, I think, a really good gauge for this offense to say, listen, we played super poor. Our offensive line struggled. We got to come out. We got to score 30 plus points here. That's what we got to do. And most importantly, we got to establish the run and we got to really ground and pound that team. they have the weapons. We all know they do, but I think it's time for them to show that and put together a game where, they're winning by 20, 30 points. I mean, that's the kind of game this Packers team needs to have against a Cowboys team that's going to be so shorthanded against them on Sunday.
And we saw it weeks 1 and week 2, right? Like those could have been bigger blowouts than they were. Like the Packers should have scored 40 against Washington. And they had opportunities against Detroit to put that game away in ways that they ultimately won, and they ultimately got the touchdown that they needed and all those things. But like those games could have been wider margins. And so this is the game where you say, okay, this is just one of those BTA sort of games. And Micah Parsons is going to be riled up for it. Let's just put Micah Parsons to the side. We had Terrence Parsons Jr., his brother, on the show yesterday. We talked a lot about Micah Parsons. What we haven't talked about is Rashawn Gary leading the NFL in sacks. Lucas Van Ness, who I thought was the best. I thought he was the best player on the field for the Packers last week. He is quietly having a breakout season, and we're just not noticing it because of Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of what Micah Parsons brings to this Packers defense. And again, if you're just a stat sheet watcher, you're going to say, oh, Micah Parsons is having a down
year. Lily. Drag them.
He's having a down year. Okay, yeah, the sack numbers might not be there, but the impact is 100% there. You talk about Rashawn Gary, 4.5 sacks. I mean, he's just feasting when Micah's out there. And you talk about Lucas Van Ness. Again, everyone wanted to see that leap. We are seeing it now. But again, it's just when you have high caliber names of a Micah and a Rashawn, those guys are going to just naturally get talked about more. But, if Lucas registers 10 plus sacks this season because of what Micah brings, people are going to start talking about him, which is great. But I think the fact that these guys are all stepping up because of Micah is what people wanted to see.
We saw last week, right? Myles Garrett, all the attention paid to him. It was everybody else that wrecked the game. Malik Collins and these other guys, defensive tackles. Mason Graham was unbelievable, the rookie from Michigan. That's what's happening right now. Devontae Wyatt I haven't checked the numbers lately, but coming into the game was leading all interior defenders in pressures. So we're seeing the impact, Micah, because everyone is saying we got to block 1. And they forgot, like, you got to block 52, you got to block 90, you got to block 95, you got to block all these other guys. And the Cowboys just lost Tyler Booker too. They lost CeeDee Lamb. Like this should be a game where the defense thrives and the offense thrives. If it doesn't, like that's when you start to have questions. That's when you start to ask Matt LaFleur, hey, what's going on, guy? Like what's the deal here? And in ways that maybe we haven't before. He hasn't faced this sort of pressure with this version of the team.
Yeah, and that's why I think a win in a big way will kind of quiet all those, right? Yeah. Because that is what you're supposed to do. If this is a team that wants to go on a Super Bowl run and prove why they're the best team, you got to win these games convincingly. And you got to prove why you're going to be a hard team to beat in the postseason. And if they don't do that, yeah, you're right. I mean, the tough questions will come because if you look on paper, it should be a quote unquote easy win for the Packers. No win is easy, I should say that. But this is a game they need to win and should win on paper. But if they don't do it and they come out unfocused, you never know.
There is no unit on Dallas that is like the defense for Cleveland, and there is no player on Dallas like Myles Garrett, not even close. They used to have a player like that, Lily. He plays in Green Bay now.
Yeah.
So that is definitely part of the difference here. Give me the player who makes it whatever it is for the Packers offense, the Packers defense, whatever it is, who is the X factor here that can help the Packers get to that big dub that they need.
I feel like every week I say Jordan Love, but this week I'm going to say Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
This week I'm going to say Josh Jacobs. I was leaning towards Matthew Golden because I think he's due for.
That would have been my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I was Matthew Golden or Josh Jacobs, but what I want to see really is just this ground game flourish. They've been kind of stuck in neutral the last couple of weeks. That one drive late against the Browns where, Jacobs busted out a 31-yard rush. And that's what I expect to see him do against the Cowboys. So I'm going to say if they can just ground and pound, that'll open up opportunities in the play action game. You get Matthew Golden involved. It's a nice day all around.
I love it. All right, Lily, let's have a more fun next week, shall we? As the Packers head into their bye week. I appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, Peter.
All right. Thanks to Lily for joining the show. Always great to talk with her. Squad show is going to be on Thursday this week, 7:15 Lambeau time. So no Wednesday show. It will be on Thursday. It'll be in your podcast feed on Friday. This show will be in your feed on Friday, of course. We've got our crossover Thursday coming tomorrow. David Hellman from the Athletic Football Show is going to join us on Friday, a conversation Friday for us. And so that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Excited to bring all of that to you. And then, of course, live on Sunday after the game for 90 minutes. Locked On Packers first on YouTube, then the Locked On Packers Squad Show on YouTube. Both of those podcasts can be in your feed on Monday, but you gotta subscribe. You gotta subscribe to get it. Well, I suppose you could search for it and find it, but subscribing is the easiest way to do it, the easiest way to stay Locked On Packers.